Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Gretchen Wall, the coordinator of the Produce Safety Alliance. By my watch, I have 2 p.m. Eastern, so I think we'll go ahead and get started with today's webinar. Welcome to Produce Safety Educators Call number 43. And just to review some of the basic instructions for anybody who's new to joining our meeting series, you're all in the meeting and you are currently muted, but you do have the ability, if you're logged into the Zoom interface, to unmute yourself during the presentation. But we are going to hold questions and answer session until after the presentation is over. There are some options if you are just called in from a phone line and not logged into Zoom. You can hit *6 on your phone line to unmute your line. In addition, if you're logged into Zoom, you can also raise your hand or use the chat box to ask us questions. If you raise your hand online, I can unmute you, but we'll also be giving the ability to unmute your own lines if you have questions for the discussion at the end. We are also recording this session, and as usual, we will be posting that on our website along with any notes or any other documents that are discussed on today's call. So check that out on our website probably a day or two from now, and we'll also send that out via the Produce Safety Educators listserv. So with that, I am very excited to introduce today's presenters to talk about USDA-AMS programs. The first is Jeff Davis, who's the Business Development Specialist, USDA-AMS Specialty Crops Program. And also joined by him, joining him will be Jennifer Doherty, who's the team lead at USDA-AMS in the Specialty Crops Program, the Audit Services Branch, and she's currently on detail as the USDA liaison to FDA. So with that, I will turn it over to Jeff to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Gretchen, for welcoming the AMS Specialty Crops Program to this afternoon's meeting. Again, my name is Jeff Davis. I'm a Business Development Specialist for the Agricultural Marketing Services Specialty Crops Program. Jennifer Doherty, our acting USDA FDA liaison, replacing Ms. Leanne Skelton, is also on today's call. The goal today is to introduce you to the services of the Specialty Crops Inspection Division. Specifically, how our inspection and audit services can help industry promote their businesses using services that will help open up new markets and emphasize the ease and access and affordable pricing of inspection and audit services. To give you some perspective, listed here is the current organizational breakdown of the USDA. Near the bottom left corner of the slide, the Specialty Crops Program is within the Agricultural Marketing Service, reporting to the Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs. The Specialty Crops Inspection Division is part of the Specialty Crops Program. Here at the Specialty Crops Inspection Division, or SCI, our focus is always on providing outstanding quality assurance and food safety. SCI is user fee based, so every action we take is to maximize efficiency, as well as reducing costs to minimize any future fee increases. Our mission is to support the global specialty crops market. Today's presentation focuses on the section about trusted, impartial, prompt, and accurate quality assurance and food safety verification services. Our programs and services are achieved daily. This is accomplished in a variety of ways. Through the MREs we help create for our soldiers in uniform serving around the world. Through the people spending every day verifying compliance in processing plants across the United States, and through the quality food served to our children through the USDA's school lunch programs. Yet do you know about the grading side of our work? Many people don't realize the importance of the inspections of the imported goods coming across the borders and through our ports here in the US. SCI verifies imported products arriving into the US subject to compliance with the marketing order agreements. This protects the US agricultural industry by ensuring competing products meet the high US standards. Doing so ensures a level playing field for all. These are several examples of the work SCI delivers to our industry stakeholders. We cover fresh and processed fruits and vegetables throughout the commercial supply chain. Reasons for these inspections include facilitating fair trade across the country, ensuring food safety, product tracking, and ensuring that all parties adhere to contract specifications. The size and scope of the audience SCI is responsible for is very large and very diverse. The specialty crops industry, from producer to processor to consumer, as well as associations and organizations committed to improve the agricultural industry. Other USDA and federal agencies, groups like the Food Safety Inspection Service, Food Nutrition Service, Farm Services Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, the Department of Defense, and the National Marine Fisheries Service. For example, DoD contracts our auditors and graders as subject matter experts for their contractual audits and contract verification visits. State governments, as well as State Department of Agriculture, are our partners in providing audit and grading services nationwide. We work hand in hand to meet the needs of all through our Fed state partners. We provide federal oversight on procedures and guidance while states perform the work and services for their states or commonwealth. Then there is international organizations such as the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, the Codex Alimentarius Commission, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency that facilitate trade. With the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, we provide wholesome foods worldwide with buyers of products bought and manufactured at plants in the U.S. These are processed under strict guidance for food and given to those in need hurt by famine, natural disasters, etc., throughout the world. And finally, our own AMS managers and employees to whom we are fully committed. Let me introduce you to our diverse employees. Our inspectors and auditors may be closer to you than you think. Our 42 sites include 25 inspection points, 14 area offices, plus 3 regional offices. Graders travel and learn a multitude of standards and services available to our customers and anyone who has a financial interest in the product. A typical load of product includes a supply chain of grower, packer, broker, trucker, distributor, receiver, and buyer. Any of those entities can obtain an inspection for quality and/or condition factors. Quality factors are things that do not change, including the size and where it is a part of the grade. Condition factors are things like decay, bruising, things that can get progressively worse. Locations represented here are offices staffed by federal employees. Most of these locations are market inspection locations. Most fresh employees are based at these locations. The fresh side consists of shipping point and market inspection locations. Almost all shipping point locations are staffed by Fed state employees. Fed state employees are staffed by state employees working through agreements with federal authorities. Shipping point offices set their own fees as determined by the state they operate in. If a shipping point location offers the same service SCI does, they must charge the federal rate. On the processed product side, there are very few Fed state operations. Almost all locations are staffed by federal employees based solely in production areas. When I speak of Fed state employees, please understand most state departments of agriculture work directly with USDA through cooperative agreements. These cooperative agreements license approximately 3,800 state personnel to perform inspection and auditing services on USDA's behalf. Our operations are divided into 5 regions across the country. States in white are not covered by cooperative agreements at this time. These Fed state cooperators provide inspections at all major southern points of entry, including San Diego or Otay Mesa, California, Nogales and Yuma, Arizona, El Paso, Laredo, McAllen, and Brownsville, Texas. Our inspection services accomplish all of these services daily. I'd like to point out the bullet, customers choose the inspection type. U.S. grade standards are looked at about every 5 years to make sure that the industry considers the standards to still satisfy their needs and the needs of their customers. Our inspection services ensure food safety while promoting industry growth and opening new markets for buyers worldwide. We can certify outbound loads, making sure they meet contract specifications. Would you like a pressure test? Temperature checks, counts per box. Our inspections are not set in stone. If you request it, we can do it. Allow me to suggest to you to discuss with SEI personnel up front to find out the correct type of inspection for your specific needs. We support an efficient marketing system that quickly moves wholesome, affordable agricultural products from farm to consumer. Anyone with a financial interest may request an inspection. Inspections help other areas of the USDA, like our Marketing Orders and Agreements Division. Orders and agreements are initiated by industry to help provide stable markets for dairy products, fruits, vegetables, and specialty crops. Each order and agreement is tailored to the individual industry's needs. Marketing orders are a binding regulation for the entire industry in the specified geographical area, maintaining the high quality of produce that is in the market. Marketing orders for commodities like Idaho potatoes, California kiwi, and Florida tomatoes help assure customer satisfaction while protecting product integrity and quality. These orders are frequently reviewed and changed by industry. Supporting USDA commodity procurement is a vital function of SEI inspection and audit services. Procurement for USDA purchases need a USDA GAP-GIP audit. Trade mitigation allowances accept other third-party audits and are reviewed by our audit staff for acceptance. Acceptance requires adherence to the criteria for sales to schools and other nutritional programs. In 2018 and 2019, USDA Secretary Perdue launched 3 trade mitigation programs to assist farmers suffering from damage due to trade retaliation by foreign nations. One of the programs, the Food Purchase and Distribution Program, or FPDP, buys food products produced on American farms by American farmers. We use approved vendors who have proven they can supply U.S.-produced products. Amounts purchased are based on an economic analysis of the damage caused by the tariffs illegally imposed on these crops by some U.S. trade partners. Most of the food purchased is provided to states for distribution to the network of food banks and food pantries that participate in the Emergency Food Assistance Program, or TEFAP. In 2018 and 2019, the USDA purchased about $1.2 billion of pork, apples, dairy, potatoes, and other products in the first round of trade mitigation. Secretary Perdue announced on May 23, 2019, the USDA was initiating a second round of trade mitigation measures. Specifically, the President authorized USDA to purchase up to $1.4 billion of U.S.-produced food products under FPDP as part of a $16 billion relief package. This is a great opportunity for American agriculture. The USDA wants to purchase your produce for distribution to your fellow Americans. To take advantage of this opportunity, SEI's inspection and audit services will help you expand your growth opportunities by getting involved in this great program. To learn more about these programs, please visit the Commodity Procurement website at the link on this page. You'll learn about our trade mitigation programs and about selling food to the USDA. We support the purchase of wholesome, high-quality food products through USDA Foods for delivery to schools, food banks, and households in communities across the country. In addition, our International Commodity Procurement Division purchases and delivers U.S.-produced food aid commodities to foreign countries, helping vulnerable populations around the world. These programs provide hope for those in need, relief for people who need your help, and your group can provide assistance by working with us to expand this business opportunity. Another important role our SEI inspectors play is by supporting our military around the world. SEI inspectors stationed at contractors' food processing plants make sure that production meets all of DoD's requirements and ensures that the troops get the best rations possible. SEI inspects over 410 million servings of military combat rations annually. During times of military mobilization or disaster relief like a hurricane, SCI inspectors work overtime and extra days to inspect the increased production needed to meet surge demands. At times, the volume of production has increased 4 to 5-fold during peak demand cycles. SCI inspectors value being able to do their part to ensure troops are getting good tasting, nutritious rations they can depend on as their country depends on them. SCI graders, inspectors, and auditors provide their expertise through their contractual verification audits. For more information on our inspection services, please contact our professionals at the listings supplied here. This slide briefly summarizes our audit services. It's voluntary and non-regulatory, a great collaborative tool between the USDA and the agricultural industry. Ultimately, the value of any food safety audit program is in buyer acceptance. The specialty crops list of buyers is long and growing, including Ahold USA, Chiquita, Del Monte, Fresh Express, H-E-B, Kroger, McDonald's, Publix, Subway, Cisco, US Foods, and Wegmans. Again, like our inspection services, audit services are user fee funded. All costs are strictly based on operating expenses to serve the industry's needs. In January 2002, USDA-AMS formally implemented the USDA Good Agricultural Practices and Good Handling Practices, or GAP and GIP, Audit Verification Program. This voluntary program verifies an operations efforts to minimize the risk of contamination of fresh fruits, vegetables, and nuts by microbial pathogens. SCI Division GAP-GIP audits focus on best agricultural practices to verify that fruits and vegetables are produced, packed, handled, and stored in the safest manner possible to minimize risks of microbial food safety hazards. GAP and GIP audits verify adherence to the recommendations made in the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's Guide to Minimize Microbial Food Safety Hazards for Fresh Fruits and Vegetables, as well as industry-recognized food safety practices. The program does not guarantee the product is free from microbial contamination. It verifies the participant has taken proactive measures to reduce the risk of contamination by adhering to generally recognized industry best practices. The responsibility for product safety and the continued observance of best practices rests with the operation producing and handling the fresh product. The Produce Gap Harmonized Standard is the result of an effort by growers, shippers, produce buyers, government agencies, including the USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service, audit organizations, and other stakeholders to develop a single audit that is applicable to all fresh produce commodities, all sizes of on-farm operations, and all regions in the United States, and that is acceptable to all buyers. USDA incorporated the Produce Gap's Harmonized Food Safety Standard into its GAP-GIP audit program in 2011. There are two standards used for Produce Gap's Harmonized Food Safety Standard audits: the Field Operations and Harvesting Harmonized Food Safety Standard, and the Post-Harvest Operations Harmonized Food Safety Standard. With an effective date of May 1, 2018, the USDA Harmonized GAP audit was reorganized to combine field operations and harvest and post-harvest operation standards. The USDA's Harmonized GAP audits come in two forms, GAP and GAP Plus. Both are based on the Harmonization Initiative standards with similar layouts. What is unique about the Harmonized GAP Plus audit is that while it has more requirements than Harmonized GAP, the GAP Plus audit meets the Global Food Safety Initiative, or GFSI, technical equivalence. The value of our harmonized audit continues to increase as USDA has aligned the audit standard with the FDA produce safety staff and with the requirements of the produce safety rule. However, the audit does not replace regulatory inspection. USDA continues to be responsive to the industry's needs. Suppliers told us that buyers are increasingly requiring their suppliers to undergo GFSI audits. We felt moving forward with GFSI technical equivalency was a very important step. Our actions have borne fruit, as more than 4,000 growers, packers, and handlers who utilize our GAP program could not use the audit to also meet the requirements of those buyers. Representatives from many specialty crop sectors, grower groups, commodity boards, and trade associations formally asked us to align our GAP program with GFSI to reduce audit fatigue and overall costs of multiple food safety audits. But let me emphasize, you really don't need multiple audits to meet multiple buyer requirements. This slide identifies which USDA audit services best suits your individual needs, regardless of how big or small you may be. For example, if you need to adhere to industry and FDA best practices, our GAP and GIP services are all you'll need. If you need to meet the FDA FSMA Produce Safety Rule alignment or Produce GAP Harmonization Initiative alignment, the USDA Harmonized GAP is your best move. If you are meeting the Global Food Safety Initiative, making you fully GFSI compliant, that is what is best for you, and the USDA Harmonized GAP Plus service is your best solution. The Harmonized GAP Plus service covers all buyer requirements. This graphic details how our Harmonized GAP audit aligns the requirements of the many retail, food service, and institutional buyers that require their suppliers to undergo a GFSI benchmarked food safety audit. We also offer commodity-specific audits that are industry-specific. They are unique to the specifications of the commodity, created in concert with the sector of the industry. The specifications are then used in concert with the harmonized standard for the commodity. These examples all predate the harmonized standard. We also offer audit services as well for traceability audits, like the Domestic Origin Verification Program, primarily completed in processing plants dealing with government contracts, the Identity Preservation Program, facility audits, such as good handling practices and good manufacturing practices, and finally, food defense audits. Do you know that we also offer export certifications? These audit services include the following: pre-export check programs for almonds destined for the European Union, European Union certification program for sprouts and seeds for sprouts, and the pistachio export aflatoxin reporting, or PAIR program. USDA's new Seeds for Sprouting Export Certification Program is a great example of this type of service, developed through collaboration between the USDA and the Food and Drug Administration. In 2019, this program opened European markets to US producers and exporters of seeds used to produce sprouts for the first time since 2012. USDA audits are conducted by trained and licensed federal and federal state Department of Agriculture employees who have years of experience. These employees understand the production and marketing of specialty crops. This flowchart outlines the step in completing an audit. All of us are always looking for ways to save money. Any steps we can take to help you afford our user fee services is a positive. Here are a couple of options to consider moving forward. Our group gap audits. This is where grower groups operating under a single food safety management system leverage their resources and collaborate on food safety issues. This action makes group gap certification easier for all. Why pay for it individually when you can combine forces with like-minded people and everyone saves money together? But what other ways can you get to the audits you need, yet still save money? Well, you can submit your request for audit individually and coordinate the scheduling of audits with other producers in your area to reduce travel costs. And from many areas of the country, you may have access to RMA funding. RMA-AMS Harmonized Gap Assistance is a joint effort by the USDA Risk Management Agency and AMS to increase market access for fruit and vegetable producers by helping pay for buyer-required food safety certification. USDA will cover the costs of voluntary USDA Harmonized Gap and Harmonized Gap Plus audits. I've itemized here areas covered under an audit that are eligible for funding under the assistance program. This map highlights the states that Congress, under the Federal Crop Insurance Act, has authorized as eligible to receive this financial assistance. It is limited to produce growers. This funding cannot be used by owners of storage or transportation facilities, cross-dock facilities, wholesale distribution centers, commercial packing, repacking operations, except when the producers own the entity, such as the producer cooperatives and food hubs. In 2019, AMS and RMA partnered to allocate $3.7 million in bill credits for USDA Harmonized Gap and Harmonized Gap Plus audits. If you want to see if you qualify for RMA funding, there is only 2 steps required as outlined here. To request an audit, you can go through your local audit office. There are only 3 forms required: an SC 237A Request for Audit Services form, an SC 651 Participation Agreement, and an SC 430 Vendor form. In fiscal year 2003, we performed a total of 138 audits. This has since grown to over 4,000 total audits in fiscal year 2019. In fiscal year 2011, we performed a total of 50 harmonized audits. This has grown to over 1,500 harmonized audits in fiscal year 2019. In FY 2019, harmonized audits made up approximately 38% of all audit certifications issued by the USDA. For more detailed information about our audit services and to help with any questions you may have, please contact our GAP Audit Services branch from the information supplied here. Gretchen, as I wrap up, I wanted to, add a few more significant slides that I think the viewership may benefit from. This slide and the following slide are contact sheets for the Specialty Crops Program. The left column denotes the division within the Specialty Crops Program. The center column details the services provided by the specific division. The right column provides contact information for the leadership of each division, highlighting their name, their job title, direct phone line, and email address. On the second page, I've also added the AMS Commodity Procurement Division contact information. While not directly part of the Specialty Crops Program, many of our customers also deal directly with the Commodity Procurement Division. As highlighted earlier in the presentation, commodity procurement works in areas including trade mitigation efforts and the USDA school lunch programs. If you're selling to the USDA, you want to deal with the Commodity Procurement Program. Finally, Tricia Kovacs of the AMS Transportation and Marketing Program developed a great double-sided handout that's also a specific web page under USDA programs in the local food supply chain. This job aid details a variety of USDA programs and links that you may find useful. Now, I apologize for this page because basically, if I posted it vertically, I'd lose half the information. Now, if you're anything like me, you're all probably turning your heads to the right at a 90-degree angle, so please accept my apologies. Actually, this is a great job aid, and it's located at www.ams.usda.gov/sites/default/files/media/food supply chain fact sheet.pdf. And all of the links are active and able to direct you where you would need to go for all of the information you may need. Gretchen, again, thanks for allowing me to present here today. On behalf of Jennifer Dougherty and myself, we appeal to you to spread the word about our inspection and audit services. We'll appear to most any audience you would suggest to present these opportunities to, any group, any size. We'll make the presentation in person or by using the same Zoom technology to present online events to pretty much anybody. We can customize it to your individuals, teams, small groups, associations, boards, you name it, we'll do it. So thanks again, and at this time, Jennifer and I will be happy to address any questions or concerns you may have.
Okay, thanks so much, Jeff, for the summary of all of USDA-AMS's programs. And just to make everything easier for people on the call today, I will be sending out the documents that Jeff had you turning your head to the right at a 90-degree angle to read in our listserv, and we'll also make those available, the links online, so that you're not searching for those URLs. But really do appreciate the summary. And at this time, if anybody has any questions about the programs Jeff discussed, both Jeff and Jen are on to answer any questions. So you can either use the chat box or feel free to raise your hand in the Zoom interface and I can unmute your line. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any questions as of yet. I'll give you all another minute or so to think about that. And while you're thinking, I'm going to move ahead and just cover a few items, and then we can come back to see if there are any questions that anybody came up with either in the chat box or if you'd like to ask a question via the Zoom interface. You all received an email from me reminding you about this meeting, and at the bottom of that email there were a few other updates. One of the things that we wanted to bring up in this group is a poll that we are doing, considering that we are thinking towards moving towards a spiral-bound grower training manual in the future. I'm not saying that we are planning on any new versions at this point. Version 1.2 is the current version, and we don't have a set schedule for a new version, but we do from time to time need to fulfill additional printing requests to replenish our stores of manuals. And thinking towards the future, we're just considering whether 3-hole punch or a spiral bound manual. If you've seen our new Spanish training manuals, that is the spiral bound, which would be very similar if we moved in that direction to a spiral bound, or whether you continue to prefer the 3-hole punch. So there is a really brief survey that if you have an opinion on this based on your experience working with the curriculum materials, whether you want us to continue use of 3-hole punch or whether you'd prefer spiral bound, please do fill out that survey. It's going to close in about a week and a half so that we can start making decisions with our printer. And I will include this link as well in the meeting notes so that you can access it there too. The other announcement I had is that the Produce Safety Alliance currently has 2 job positions open, and we are currently accepting applications and reviewing them until we find a suitable candidate. The first position is for a Southeast Regional Extension Associate, and then the second position is to hire a Spanish language extension associate. So you can find more information about both of those jobs on Academic Jobs Online through the links that are posted there. And again, we're actively starting to review those applications. So we do request that if you're interested, that you get your application in as soon as possible. And then this last one here is our next meeting is going to be held on Monday, February 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern. And our speaker is going to be Dr. Connie Fisk, who's the PSA Northwest Regional Extension Associate, and she's going to be focusing on building capacity in your training team. So we're very excited for that presentation and hope you'll join us at that time as well. So I'm going to return to see if anybody has any last questions that they've thought of. And I will pop open my chat box here. Londa's asking, I just wanted to clarify the way that harmonized GAPS audits are aligned with FSMA inspections. If a farm is harmonized GAPS certified, then the FSMA inspector will likely lower their priority for inspecting that farm since they have been harmonized GAPS certified. But is that up to the FSMA inspector to decide how to prioritize the inspections? Jeff or Jen, do you have a response for that?
Sure, this is Jen. Hi, Londa. Thank you for your question. Yes, you're correct in your summary there. So USDA GAP harmonized audit is different than a FSMA inspection, and that should be taken into account with the prioritization for the FSMA inspections. But the audit does not replace the inspection, but participating in a gap audit, a harmonized gap audit in particular, that is aligned with the technical requirements of the produce safety rule is good preparation.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Hopefully that answers your question, Londa. Let us know if that doesn't meet your needs. Are there any other questions? Christina's just adding, I would also like to add that some states plan to inspect all farms eligible for an inspection each year regardless. There was also a request from Betsy, actually, because there seem to be some questions about how GFSI benchmarking works. Jen or Jeff, would you be willing to go over the Harmonized Plus just a little bit more for us? And I can actually scroll back a couple slides if that would be helpful.
Sure, thanks, Gretchen.
Trying to remember, where was that in your presentation?
A little bit further.
Okay. There we go.
If you want to go, I think 1 or 2 more forward, there's a slide specific to Harmonized Plus. There you are.
Oops.
Okay.
There we go.
So we have been receiving a lot of questions about the GFSI benchmarking. And so what USDA has gone through is benchmarking to the technical requirements of GFSI's benchmarking document. As USDA is not able to go through the full benchmarking process for GFSI, along with other government organizations, GFSI has developed a technical equivalence process. And that verifies that the standard, the USDA Harmonized Gap Plus standard, aligns with the technical requirements of the benchmarking document found in B1 and D for the GFSI benchmarking. And so our audit standard has the technical components that are also found in the GFSI benchmarking standard.
Okay, great. Betsy, does that answer your question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
I think what I was trying to get at, or what the question that comes up a lot in regard to it is understanding that there's harmonized, it's been harmonized with the rule, but then sometimes buyers will be interested in having something that's GFSI benchmark. And I think whenever we talk about harmonized plus, people's eyes get a little glossy. So I was just wanting to go back to that. I know you guys covered it as we went through, but since we had a few more minutes, that issue of GIP gap and harmonized plus, and sort of understanding those differences and why people might ask for one versus the other. That's all I was trying to get at, because it seems like that's the part I'm trying to explain.
Yes, Gretchen, can you go forward to the next slide?
Sure.
Okay. So I like this graphic because I think it gives a representation of how the programs build on one another. And hopefully this will help address those concerns with what are the differences. So our USDA Gap and GIP audit was our initial audit offering for good agricultural practices from USDA. As Jeff had mentioned, it is based on the FDA guidance document, or the green guide as it's commonly referred to. Our USDA Harmonized Gap audit has additional requirements than the USDA Gap and GIP audit. This audit is based on the harmonized standard that is housed by the Secretariat of United Fresh. which is used by multiple audit organizations and was created to harmonize all of the different food safety standards out there to say that these requirements are what are very similar amongst the standards, and the Harmonization Initiative has brought together to come to one standard that's generally acceptable by buyers. So we started auditing to the harmonized gap audit, I think back in 2011. And we took this audit and we said, okay, with the implementation of FSMA, produce safety rule, what requirements do we need to look at in here that are also covered in the produce safety rule? And are there anything that was in the produce safety rule that we need to look at updating the harmonized standard to? So we went through a produce safety alignment project with FDA, and the harmonized audit that covers the technical requirements of the produce safety rule. In addition to that, so that brings you up to the third block that's on here. So the harmonized audit builds on including guidance, including alignment, including alignment with the Harmonization Initiative. But in addition to that, there is the GFSI requirement that many buyers have, or the Global Food Safety Initiative requirement. GFSI has put out a benchmarking standard for audit organizations to align their audit with. So the harmonized audit needed a few additional questions to meet the requirements, the technical requirements of the Global Food Safety Initiative benchmarking standard to achieve technical equivalence of that standard with the benchmarking standard. So we went through that process, and USDA's Harmonized Gap Plus audit has those additional requirements that make that align with or meet the requirements for technical equivalence of the Global Food Safety Initiative.
Okay, thanks, Jen, for...
Does that help? Any other questions on that?
Yeah, I think somebody else was a follow-up to Londa's original question, but this is more about alignment with FSMA, I believe. And the question was, what will it actually mean for growers to have these programs, quote unquote, aligned in terms of inspections? Are the rules for alignment set by the state or some other combo of USDA, NASDA, or FDA?
That's a great question. So there is going to be compliance, and that is going to be determined by the FDA and FSMA produce safety rule inspectors.
Okay, but in terms of alignment of the actual audit metrics to the produce safety rule, I'm thinking that maybe that was a little bit more of the lean towards that question, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood the question. And Michelle has her hand up. So Michelle, would you like to add? Michelle Smith?
Yep. And Michelle, I just gave you the ability to talk. I think you should be unmuted now. But there you go. Maybe.
I'm showing Michelle is still muted.
Yeah. Let's see. Michelle, I'm going to promote you as a panelist just very quickly, and maybe that will allow me to unmute your line. For some reason, it won't let me unmute you. It's very odd.
Okay, how about now?
There you go. Sorry about that, Michelle.
Sure. I think what it gets at is the whole objective of the alignment exercise that USDA and FDA participated in. we wanted to make sure that the harmonized gap standard was consistent with the requirements in the produce safety rule, so that if someone passed a harmonized gaps audit, they would be well positioned to be in compliance with the rule also. Now, the harmonized gaps audit is not a measure of compliance, because officially compliance with the rule can only be determined by a produce safety rule inspection, whether it's FDA inspectors or state inspectors working under contract or under authority that they adopt within their state. So the fact that we went through this process line by line, both for the rule and for the harmonized standard over an extended period of time, and we've done that with a number of other things, but I think harmonized gaps was where we put in our highest level of effort collaboratively.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for that input, Michelle.
Right, and this is a great visual. I wanted to say that before.
Yeah, I like this too. It definitely helps clarify it for me. Okay, are there any other questions in the chat? Or for anybody that is wants me to unmute their line? Sorry, I apologize for the scrolling of the slides here, but let me get to the end again. Okay. I'm not seeing any additional questions at this time, but I will, oh, there's one more here. Any chance of RMA funding that will extend to additional states?
Hey, great question. So currently the AMS RMA funds were designated for those 16 specific states.
So at this point in time, there's no knowledge of expanding that beyond those states that were highlighted on the slide?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, for the Northeast, that's definitely something that I wasn't aware of until I heard about this program, you know, a year or so ago, and it's definitely something that I've been promoting at all of my grower trainings for them to take advantage of in the Northeast especially. Okay, seeing no more questions rolling in, I will follow up with everybody with the presentation for today. And I wanted to mention too, before we ended the meeting, that I know we get this question all the time about upcoming Train the Trainer courses. And if you go to our website, we actually currently have 3 that are registered. So I just wanted to briefly mention them here. The first is coming up in Salinas, California. That will be with Donna Clements, held at Hartnell College on February 18th and 19th. And that's a traditional Train the Trainer course. And then we have 2 upcoming integrated courses. And an integrated course is essentially a Produce Safety Alliance grower training on the first day. And then on the second day is the more trainer-specific information. And trainers would attend both the first and the second day, but there will also be growers on the first day. So it's a good opportunity if you haven't seen the Produce Safety Alliance grower training delivered before to attend an integrated course, because you get to see all of the modules actually being delivered to grower participants. So we do have one coming up in Bessemer, Alabama, and that's with Dr. Kristen Woods. And that will be on February 26th and 27th. And then there is also one with Dr. Connie Fisk in Wenatchee, and that's April 1st and 2nd in Wenatchee, Washington. So those are both integrated courses and a great opportunity to see the curriculum delivered in a grower training format and also attend the Train the Trainer portion. So more information is available for those courses on our website under the training tab, and then drop down to Train the Trainer courses. Okay, and with that, I already mentioned our next meeting is on February 3rd. I will send out the information for the call-in and the Zoom meeting shortly with the notes from this meeting, but I would like to thank again Jeff and Jen for joining us on this call today and answering everybody's questions about USDA-AMS programs. And we'll provide contact information and some of those resources which you saw on the screen today along with the slides if you have any questions. So I'll give Jeff and Jen one last opportunity if you guys have anything to share with the group.
Gretchen, thank you for having us on the call today. We appreciate the opportunity to share.
That's just great. Thanks much.
Okay, thank you both for joining, and hope everybody has a great week. We'll talk to you in early February. Take care, everyone.